Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing.
Testing.
Hey guys, it's Kevin again with a very special guest here. As you guys know, I am in fact in Canada right now. I'm sure they know you at this point if you guys watch Conversation with Kelly, but if not, introduce the people that maybe only watch my movie reviews.
Hello, my name is Aly,
Yes.
and I'm very excited to be here.
Yes, very excited for one of 3 movie reviews that we'll be doing together. I felt like, since we saw these 3 we're going to be seeing these 3 movies together, it just made sense to, do it together while we have the time. But what did we see, Aly? What are we reviewing today?
We are reviewing West Side Story.
Yes. So, West Side Story, we're going to talk about it in a little bit, but basically what this movie's about is basically we focus on this turf war that's going on between these 2 rival gangs known as the Jets and the Sharks. There's been a bit of a rivalry simmering between them, and it's really kind of gotten to a breaking point, and it kind of starts to come to a head when one of the former members of the Jets, Tony, falls in love with this Puerto Rican girl that is affiliated with the Sharks, Maria. They start to fall in love. This is very much forbidden, and this kind of gets all of them to sort of just reassess what they're doing. And Tony and Maria meanwhile are like trying to make things work, but things kind of come to a violent head, and that's really all we'll say. So let's talk about this movie a bit, because I know I've said before, when it came to this remake, I was very hesitant on it. I didn't know if it was necessarily a film that had to be made. I didn't really understand why we needed to remake this film when I feel like the original film is in very high regard in that way. A lot of people consider it to be like one of the best musicals of all time. It's very much kind of like a stepping stone for like musicals overall. I know you weren't that familiar when it came to the source material. So what did you think going in?
Going into it, I've never actually seen the original yet, so I was basically going in blind and just like knowing what happens with the trailers. But it really surprised me, and
we'll talk about our thoughts in a little bit. But make a long story short, like I said, I was very unsure how to feel going into this, but coming out of it, as a big supporter of the original, I've been a big supporter for a long time. We actually did get a chance to watch the original together, yours being for the first time, mine being on a rewatch, and I gotta be honest with you guys, This is going to shock all of you, and, it's going to make me sound like a giant hypocrite, because I've said for so long, the original's perfect, don't touch it, there's no reason to remake it. I actually like this one more. I do. I think this is a considerably better film, and look, maybe it was my just, naivety and ignorance, not really noticing some of the very blatant and problematic issues, within the original film. But this film really does fix all of that. They really did everything in their power to push the boundaries of cinema to make this film better than it really has ever been. And I guess we'll dive into it right now. Before we get into the acting, though, I do want to talk a little bit about the original, because I know you also have thoughts on it. I don't dislike the original. I want to say that right now. I still really do like the movie, but there are a couple things that do hold it back for me. One, and this really does go with the acting, which we're going to talk about, something I never noticed, and I don't know how. Kevin's stupid. I don't know how I didn't notice this. We've been new that Kevin's stupid, but
no.
This is really something that I should have noticed, is that when it gets to the Sharks in the movie, the majority of those actors are not Puerto Rican. They are very much in brownface, and that's a big that's very problematic. I understand the time. I understand the 60s, was easier to just get white actors and things like that, but it doesn't change the fact that it just makes me feel very icky while watching it, knowing that this random white guy is playing Bernardo and doing a full-on Puerto Rican accent. It just comes across as very offensive and just doesn't really work at all. So right off the bat, I will say that is something this film does fix. We have actual Puerto Rican actors playing these roles, the Latinx community. It's a very good film for them. I will say in terms of the acting, mostly everyone is very good, but I think we'll both agree there is one blatant miscast here. There's one person who does bring bring this down, and that's good old sex offender himself, Ansel Elgort. Look, I'm not going to get into that too much because that's not the focus of this review. What he did was very wrong, and I'm hoping that this is his last movie and things like that. If it was up to me, this would be his last movie, but that's not really what we're here to discuss. Ansel Elgort as an actor, he's not bad. Like, I don't want to say he's bad in this movie. It's really just everyone else is so good. He's not on the level of them. He feels very wooden. He feels very dull. He feels almost kind of confused in this role. And Tony, I feel like as a character, they gave a pretty major upgrade to in terms of character development, and Elgort just doesn't fully go there. I feel like he just didn't really go to the places he needed to make this role work, and I just wasn't really a huge fan of him. I don't hate him in this role or anything like that, but I just feel like there were obvious choices that they could have gotten to make this role work more. I will say, damn can he sing. Like, I was really surprised, especially Maria. I've been listening to that cover a lot because I honestly think he did a really good job, like, covering that song. He has that's a cover I've been listening to quite a bit, and I think he really did kill it there, but in terms of the acting department, he just wasn't fully there for me. I think there was something missing from that role, and again, I think it's just because everyone else is so good. He is very much, like, the clear weakest link here, and it sucks to say that because, like, I wish that, I wish for a movie like this to not have a weak link, but unfortunately, there is, and is Ansel Elgort. I went on long enough. What did you think of him in this movie?
I mean, yeah, I kind of agree with you that he is a really great singer, but, I used to actually really like him as an actor.
Same, and that's what sucks.
But now it sucks with what I heard about him.
Which you didn't know about, actually.
Yeah, when I heard about that, I was like,
yeah.
That's gross.
Yeah.
So, that definitely, like, turned me against him, so he's definitely the only miscast of this movie. But, yeah, great singer. That's amazing. But other than that, I found him very stiff. And he just didn't seem like he wanted to be there at times. Yeah,
so, I definitely got that sense. Kind of like contractually obligated, yeah.
He was just kind of like there. I'm trying to think of who would be better for that role.
I have no idea.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But, definitely someone that's a little bit better.
Yeah, definitely.
And more kind of experienced in that kind of sense.
Yeah, I think that's definitely what brings it down. It's like, you look at, say, Andrew Garfield and Tick, Tick, Boom, who, like, didn't have much musical experience and, like, what he was able to do. It's like, there's kind of no excuse that, like, Ansel Elgort doesn't really give it his all here, so it kind of sucks. But let's get into the people we really do like. Rachel Zegler in this movie was the main reason I was very excited for this, because this is not a well-known celebrity. This is a kid from New Jersey. She performed in high school. She did a lot of performing arts stuff. They found her, and what an amazing find. Let me just say that right off the bat. She is fucking incredible in this movie. She really does give, like, the breakthrough performance of her life here. Every single emotion associated with Maria, she does such an amazing job with. Maria is not exactly, like, a very complex character. She's probably, like, one of the more simplistic ones in the show, but Zegler really brings, like, dimensions to her, and I really loved her in this role a lot. I mean, her voice is just otherworldly in this film. I mean, what she's able to do is amazing. That's another complaint I have with the original, is I really hate the dubbing for Natalie Wood. Most of the actors are dubbed, but Natalie Wood was dubbed without her consent, and it's great to see someone in that role that actually is singing. Like, it's her singing. And we saw this with your roommate. Your roommate didn't believe that was her singing just because of, like, how good she was. I mean, that really is her singing, and she's absolutely incredible. And I loved everything that she did in this movie.
She was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I didn't know tons about her prior. Like, obviously I knew about her a bit, but obviously I know more about her now. Yeah. Like, I researched her and stuff, like, and researched the movie. Yeah. But, she's phenomenal. I think she needs to do way more, like, movies like this. Wow. Like, her voice is just stunning, and her role was so good, and, I'm literally, like, in awe, and I was speechless when I heard her voice, because she's so young, but, like, her voice is, like, very mature.
Yeah, and I think she really gives, like, that innocent side of Maria. Like, she does a really good job with that, but she really also, like, makes the character her own, and that's something I really did appreciate. Like, she really kind of gives this, like, independent side to Maria that we really haven't seen before, and I really love that about her. So, just amazing job on her end. Chemistry between the two, not really there, I'll be honest. No. Like, the chemistry... I will say, it got better as it went along. Like, as stiff as Elgort is, I did think their chemistry got better as it went along. Like, especially a specific scene in a church, I thought was really well done in terms of their chemistry. But that's not really, like, the high point of this movie. Let's talk about the person that I know you were especially in awe of. Ariana Debose in this movie is absolutely incredible. I'm sure you guys have heard, you know, from all the reviews that, like, she really is the big standout here, and it's true. I mean, she kills this entire performance, and to be frank, I mean, and I feel like if you play Anita, you're probably going to be the standout because Rita Moreno is the big standout in the original.
Oh, yeah.
But my God, what a fiery performance from Debose here. She does such a great job at just portraying the side of Anita that's like, I will get things done, things will happen my way, but then also really diving, especially in the third act, diving into, like, the emotion of this character and the love she has for Bernardo. I mean, they really do such an amazing job with it. And we're not, obviously, I don't want to spoil what happens if you've never seen the movie, but, like, she goes to some really emotional places in the third act, and it absolutely impressed me. And I've been a big fan of hers for, like, you know, with The Prom, and I remember, you know, praised her a lot in Schmigadoon. I thought she was kind of the standout here. But my God, I mean, just get her in every single musical because she is such a star, and every time she's on screen, you just can't take your eyes off her. I absolutely adored her in this performance. I think she really was the big standout. This is a really great cast, but I think she alone is, like, enough of a reason to watch this movie. And Best Supporting Actress, that better be coming her way. I'll just say that right now. She better be the front runner because she definitely gives an Oscar-worthy performance here.
She was fantastic.
Yes.
And obviously, like you mentioned, The Prom and Schmigadoon, she was so good in both of those.
It's crazy she's gotten all of those roles at once, right?
I know. Like, they were, it was like, it came so quick.
Yeah.
That's why people love her.
I know.
But yeah, I've, like, really grew into, like, a big fan of her.
Oh, yeah.
And her role was just amazing. And she was definitely the star, like, hands down.
For sure.
But her and Rachel, like, phenomenal. But yeah, she was probably the main star in my opinion.
I would agree.
Like, the acting and her emotion and just, like, she seemed to, like, really, really enjoy being there.
Yeah, she really relished just everything when it came to this role. And like I said, that's such an iconic performance from Rita Moreno. But similar to Zegler, like, she really made that role her own. I think especially in, like, the more emotional parts. Like, she brought this authenticity to the character. There's one scene especially, she goes to visit a place. And I think you know where I'm getting at, but, like, her reaction, it's not even, like, anything that big. It's a very subtle reaction, but, like, I was so mesmerized by her in that role. I love what she did here. Other big standout for me, though, and I'm sure you'll agree, Mike Faist in this movie. I absolutely adored. And I'll be honest, like, Riff as a character, in the original, like, I had a very hard time latching on to him watching it back. I didn't really feel like there was a lot given, and we'll talk more about that when it comes to the writing, but he really does such a great job at playing a character that feels like a real person. This does not feel like, hey guys, I'm in a gang, it's so great, isn't it amazing? I'm bang bang, we're gonna shoot people, like it's such an amazing thing. Like, no, this is a guy that doesn't really want to be in this situation. Like, he's kind of been forced into it, and you can see that that's kind of had this, like, crushing weight on him, but at the same time, he feels like this is his true purpose. He doesn't really know what his life is outside of the Jets, and it provides this more sort of vulnerability to Riff, but also I think this emotional side to him, but also this, you know, while it's an emotional side to him, he also has this, like, very intimidating side that we have not really seen from this character before. Like, I was legitimately scared of Riff in many scenes in this movie, and he did such an amazing job here. I haven't really seen much of him aside from, like, Dear Evan Hansen, obviously, but my God, he is going places, and I really hope we see him in future roles in other films, because he was just such a standout here.
Oh, yeah. Like, obviously, I've really only seen him in Dear Evan Hansen.
Yeah.
And he was great in that, but this one, he was just amazing. Get him in more musicals.
Please.
That would be, like, He was phenomenal.
And Best Supporting Actor nomination, too.
Yes.
I really hope that comes his way.
Him and Ariana, please.
Yeah, I really hope it happens. I know it's slim for Faist, but, like, I would very much be behind it. The rest of the cast, I mean, everyone really does kill it here. David Alvarez, not in this movie a lot, but for what he has, he does a really good job playing Bernardo. Bernardo feels way less like this, like, machismo, like, one-note caricature, and more like a guy that has his own reasons for feeling the way that he does, and you really kind of can get behind him more because of that. I think I think that Alvarez just has a lot more to work with as an actor, and I really loved him in this film. I thought he did an amazing job here. Rita Moreno, though, oh my god, I mean, she really kills it in this film. I know obviously it's a newer role, we already know that she's really strong, but she really does take this character of Valentina, who could have been, I think, a throwaway role, and really add this, like, honestly, I'd go as far as say she's the heart of the movie. I really would go as far as to say that. She's the heart and soul of the movie. She has this, like, warmth to her that you really do find yourself latching onto, and I just really love what she did here. I know people are saying that she could also potentially get Best Supporting Actress, and I'd 100% be behind that because I think she was incredible here.
Yeah, she was really good. And obviously, we watched the original, like, after.
Yeah. And she was the best in that, too.
For my first time. Yeah, she was phenomenal in that.
Oh, yeah.
Probably, yeah, for sure. She was definitely the best.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, she was great in the new one. And, I mean, yeah, I would definitely be fine with her winning Supporting Actress as well.
Not winning, nominated, I'm saying.
Nominated, sorry.
We want Ariana Debose to win.
Yes.
We don't want her to win. Rita, you can get nominated, but, like, that's Ariana's award.
Yeah,
so,
true.
like...
But, I mean, she deserves it, too, but maybe Ariana.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But just all around, I think this is a really solid cast. Brian Darcy James, Corey Stoll, they're really great, too. The actor that played Chino, I thought, was also really good. Like, he definitely brought more layers to this character than, like, because that's that could have been such a, like, an easy role that, like, you don't really have to do a lot with, but he does. And, like, I feel like almost every single actor, minus Elgort, is on their A-game here, and I really loved what everyone ended up contributing to this film. So yeah, all around, I think the acting is just absolutely spectacular here, just rounding out one of the best ensembles of the entire year for sure. But I gotta say, and I think you'd agree with me on this, the real star of this movie is Steven Spielberg. His directing, what he brings to this film. Look, Steven Spielberg, we already know that he's one of the greats. We know that he is one of those directors that he's able to capture spectacle in a way that that very few directors can, and, the passion that he puts into films. But I will admit, he hasn't really been on his mark as much lately. He's made some good films like Ready Player One, and which is a good film. I know a lot of people like to shit on it. I enjoy Ready Player One. I think that's a fun movie. And The Post as well. Those are good movies, but this is easily the most effort he has put into a film in quite some time. His directing in this film, I mean, he really did everything he possibly could to tweak certain aspects of the original that didn't work, but also retain what made that original so good. He isn't trying to just, like, completely shit on the original and be like, nothing's good here, throw it all away. No, what he's doing is sort of, like, reassessing it. He's looking through the cracks of, like, what worked here, what didn't work, and I think he did a really amazing job with that. And the directing in the original, I'll be honest, isn't that good. It really is not that good, because it feels very much like they are just plucking what happened in the stage show and just kind of, like, redoing it. There's no real, like, flair or anything like that, whereas I feel like Spielberg definitely had that here. He has such a specific vision for this film, making what's almost, in the original, New York City is depicted as, like, this beautiful, like, idyllic view. Here, it's like a complete wasteland. Like, it seems like it's, like, in shambles because of all of the, like, gang violence that's going on, and it seems like a simple thing, but it changes so much, and a lot of that is because of Spielberg's directing. He did such a great job of, like, thinking about what could really work here, why would this character do this thing. It was just absolutely brilliant. I mean, what did you think of his directing overall?
Oh, phenomenal. Like, he's definitely one of the GOATs. So good.
Yeah. Also should be nominated for Best Director. Oh, yeah. For sure.
He really, like, outdid himself with this movie.
Oh, yeah.
he did so well, and it's his first musical, right?
This is his first musical, which is shocking.
Yeah,
like,
that's
honestly.
crazy.
Yeah.
Just for, like, being his first musical, I'm in awe. Like,
yeah.
legit.
Most of the time...
So amazing.
Yeah, because, like, I think of, like Steven Chbosky, who did Dear Evan Hansen. That was also his first musical, completely off his mark. Like, had no idea how to direct a musical. But Spielberg, it seems like he knew exactly what to do immediately, and it's just amazing to me. Like, get this guy to do another musical as soon as possible, because he knows how to do it. Like, he knows how to transport you into the world. He knows everything a musical needs to have, and I think he just does such an amazing job here, applying so much style, so much flair to this movie. I really loved what he ended up doing here. He just brought this magic to this film that really came to life, and I'm not saying that, like, the original didn't have it, but I just feel like because Spielberg's directing was so strong, the entire movie is just elevated to another level. And I mean, when it comes to the emotion, I mean, it's so palpable. You feel every single emotion in this movie. When characters are in disarray, you're feeling it. When characters are in a state of shock, you feel it. When characters are, you know, really just delighted over something that happened, like when Tony and Maria first meet each other, you feel every second of it. The emotions are so high here. But then when the movie has to be very violent, I mean, every single thing he put so much thought and detail into, and it's just absolutely incredible what he was able to do in terms of directing here. So I really do think, you know, while we have a really strong cast, I think Spielberg really is like the anchor of this entire movie. But let's talk about the screenplay here by Tony Kushner, because that's something else I was very impressed by. So going back to the original, again, I hate to just, like, compare and contrast, but obviously it was your first time watching it, so, yeah. Like, you know, and that's something we kind of both agreed on, is that a lot of the characters in the original, while you enjoy following them, there's not a lot to them in terms of character development. They're very basic overall. No. Specific examples I can point out. Tony's literal motivation in the original is, I left the Jets to get a job, and all of you should get a job. Like, that's literally what it is. It feels like an after-school special at points in terms of, like, messaging.
What is this development?
Exactly. But here, they really kind of, like, recontextualize that character. Tony is now someone that's, like, he's down on his luck. I believe they say in the beginning of the movie, like, he's just gotten out of prison. So, like, he's kind of, like, at a crossroads there. And it makes a lot more sense why he falls for Maria, because she kind of is, like, the only good thing in his life in a while. He's kind of in a state where he doesn't really feel like much is going his way, and I thought that was a really brilliant change. And again, it's a very small one, but it changes so much for the character. The motivation just makes so much more sense there, and I think they do a really great job with that. And then Maria as well, you get the sense that, like, she wants independence. You know, her family wants her to be a specific way. You're supposed to be Puerto Rican, you're supposed to marry someone that's Puerto Rican, you have to be stuck with the Jets, but she doesn't really want to do that. She wants to do her own thing, and I really liked that aspect of both of these characters, so when they eventually do come together, you know, you feel it, you understand it. I thought that the romance was way more believable in this film, and I think you'll agree with me on that.
I think so too. Like, compared to I did think in the original, the connection between the two is actually a little more genuine.
Yeah, I think the chemistry's better, because I think whoever plays Tony gave a stronger performance than Ansel Elgort.
Because obviously Ansel was very, like, stiff.
Very wooden,
very stiff and dull.
Yeah, for sure. But I think what they did really well when it came to this is, again, give you more of a connection to those two characters, give you a reason to care about their relationship. It's not just like, oh my god, love at first sight. That's like a really cheesy thing, you know, that's like kind of hard to buy into.
Love at first sight.
They really did kind of make it work here. But the two most noticeable changes, I feel like, are with the Jets and the Sharks, because Aly can attest to this. When we watched the movie, I literally said to her, I don't understand why these two hate each other so much. Why are these two gangs, like, after each other? Why do they have this, like, hatred? What's the reasoning for it? It's kind of, like, hard to buy into. Like, you enjoy watching the Jets, but the way they portray them in the original, it's like you're kind of supposed to root for them. Yeah. And it's like, these are gang members that are, like, sexist. They're straight up racist at points.
They're literally bad people.
Yeah, these are not people that you want to follow. Like, Tony has strayed away from the Jets because he knows how bad they are. They've they led him down this dark path. Like, and I just felt like there was a really weird, like, characterization. Like, yeah, the Jets are fun to watch, but when you really think about it, it's like, should we be rooting for these characters?
Not at all.
And this movie wisely understands that, like, we shouldn't be rooting for either side in this movie. The Jets, yeah, they are a group that's kind of like, they're orphans and they're not really supposed to be in this life, but they're savage and they're very, like, ferocious people, and this film really does dig deep into that. And Riff especially is such a better character here. I loved what they did with him as a character. As I said, he kind of feels way more fleshed out here. You understand why Riff is so steadfast in his beliefs. Why is he so committed to the Jets? It's kind of because he was kind of forced into this life, and we kind of do dive deeper into that here, and I think they did a great job of adding layers to this character, but not trying to make him too sympathetic to the point where it's like, oh, you should be rooting for him. No, this is a character that is gone down a very tragic path, and it's made him into the worst possible version of himself, and I thought they did such an amazing job with that here. What did you think of the changes to Riff's character?
Oh, gosh. It's definitely... I don't know, there was, like, some differences and similarities.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I thought Mike Faist did a little bit better.
Yeah. Well, there was more depth to him. He had more to work with.
There was, like, more characterization.
Oh, yeah, definitely. He did such...
But, I mean, they do have, like, similarities, like I said.
They do, sort of, but I feel like Riff in the original, it's like, oh, he's so cool, he's the leader of a gang. It's like, no. Like, why are you glorifying this? That's kind of like...
That's problematic.
Yeah, that's not the way to go about it. And then Bernardo, as well as a character, I can take a lot more seriously in this film. Because I'll be honest, in the original, he's kind of just like angry all the time. The second Tony Marie is like, get away from my sister, I don't want you here. Like, all he does is like just complain constantly. And here, there's a reason for it. You understand why he feels this way. The Jets and Sharks, what they do in this movie that I think is really cool, they're both kind of fighting for the same cause. They're just going about it very differently. And I thought there was a really good development to these characters. There's something they do very early on in the film that kind of gets you to understand, you know, why they have this hatred against each other, and it just makes a lot more sense in that way. I think the way that they portray it here, you know, you're not really rooting for the Jets or the Sharks. You get the sense that, like, obviously the Sharks are more victimized and oppressed and things like that, and there's a lot of, like, microaggressions that they have to deal with and whatnot. But at no point are they like, yeah, the Sharks are the good guys, the Jets are the bad guys. It's not that black and white. This film is very much focused on the grayness in between both of them, and I really did appreciate that at the end of the day. I thought they did a really amazing job with that here, especially with the character of Bernardo. Like, he's not in, like I say, he's not in the movie as much, but not only do they dive deeper into his motivation, him and Anita's relationship is way more believable than it is in the original. In the original, you're like, why are these two together? Like, why do they like each other? Here, it makes sense. It makes sense. Like, there are even points where I turn to you and I'm like, this is kind of like us. Like,
that's true.
So, yeah, I mean, I very much felt the relationship between Anita and Bernardo, and I thought they did a fantastic job with that. Just every story change they made, it just made the film considerably better. There's a lot of things they did here that worked better. Chino has more to do as a character. He has a bit more of an inclusion in the film, and it definitely works when it comes to his character. Another big change that they actually made in this film that I know is kind of controversial for some people, whenever the Sharks are talking in Spanish, there's no subtitles. We just kind of hear them.
Yeah, that's so true.
And I thought that was honestly a really cool idea, because it's kind of showing that, like, this is how the Sharks talk. You know, this is how that specific, you know, the group of Latinx people, this is how they talk and things like that. And it doesn't matter if people don't understand them, because they understand each other. It's not really for them. And I thought that was, like, a really cool thing. It's like, you know, if you speak Spanish, you'll know what they're talking about. If not, it's not for you. It's not for you. And I recognize that. Like, it's not for us to understand what they're saying, because the point of it is that, you know, for people who speak Spanish, they know what they're saying, and it feels more authentic in that way. I hate it when you have characters that are supposed to be like native speakers of a different language and they're not speaking that language ever. It just feels very inauthentic, and here it just makes a lot of sense that these characters would be speaking to each other in Spanish, and to completely just do away with subtitles entirely, it kind of creates this like communal feeling where it's like, you know, it feels more like intimate in that way, like you're kind of a part of the Sharks, and I thought that was a really good choice overall. I liked what they did there.
I really like that too.
Yeah. But the other big change I want to talk about is, let's talk about Valentina as a character. Obviously, she is replacing, I forgot what his name was. I think his name was Doc, who worked in Tony's store.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he's not there anymore. We realized very early on, has passed away, and they do a really interesting thing with Valentina as a character. I really liked what they did with her. She really takes on this sort of like mentor role to Tony, and it adds layers to Tony's character, but you also really do feel for her character, and I think she, again, represented that grayness very well, showing that, like, you know, she's kind of neutral in this whole conflict, and I really liked what they did with her overall. I thought she was a really good addition to this film.
Oh yeah, I definitely like that. That was like a very, what's the word I'm looking for? What's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know.
Anyways, just go on.
I don't know what that was. Yeah, I really liked what they did with her character. I thought overall she really did add a lot to this film. And I just really like the way this film was reimagined. There's more of a focus on a lot of
Wait, sorry, she's like a magical character.
Yes,
that's
definitely
what I was looking for.
Yeah, she really does add a certain magic, and again, I think warmth to this film that it otherwise wouldn't have if she wasn't there, and I really liked what they did with her. And also, there's a lot more emphasis in this film on very weightier themes like gentrification, and the racism is dived into a lot more here, especially with Corey Stoll's character. The way that he what I liked about Corey Stoll's character is that it's not like he's like hyping up the Jets and then just like, you know, being terrible towards the Sharks. He's kind of being terrible towards both of them. And I thought that was a really interesting way to sort of look at it. I liked what they did with him as a character. It shows that, you know, either side, he's not really that great. And I liked what they did with him overall. There's a lot of themes in here, like I said, about just sort of the idea of violence and how that really doesn't solve much of anything. And also how like people need to work together. I think they do a really good job with that. There's also just this added grittiness to the film, and I'm sure you can agree. Like I said, in the original, it's like fun. It's like kind of glorified when you're watching the Sharks. Like the first scene in the movie, you're watching the Jets literally invade a children's basketball game. They are hanging out on a basketball court. It's like, how silly can you get? And
that's so silly.
Here, this feels like an actual gang. It feels like this might actually have an impact on New York City. There's a lot of damage that's going on. You know, people are calling for it to stop. It just feels there's a much bigger emphasis on this film. It feels like a much larger issue, and I think
so too.
Yeah, I thought they did a really good job with that.
Because obviously, like, the first one is more, like, racist and everything because of brown face.
Yeah.
So this one actually, like, seemed more like realistic and
definitely
and this one obviously was way better than
the realism was definitely a lot better here, and it makes
more realistic.
It makes certain things like the rumble that goes down a lot more riveting to watch. In the original it just kind of happens. Here there's a lot of setup towards it, and I thought they did a really strong job with that.
I think so too.
So we did forget to mention this in the actual video, but I did feel that Maria and Anita's relationship, there's more emphasis put onto that as well. You definitely feel more of the sisterly bond here, and I think that really added some layers to both of those characters as well, which I really did enjoy. There is one scene that they did keep in the film that was honestly kind of shocked that they kept in, but it's depicted a lot better in here. It's a very sensitive scene. In the original, it's honestly kind of sensationalized in a way that really makes me feel uncomfortable, and I feel like in the new one, there is a greater emphasis on just the danger of this and sort of like just how tragic it really is to what happens to like this specific character, and so I don't really have a problem with them including it. I saw some people say that like they should do away with it entirely, and I disagree. I think it makes sense to include in there because it's not depicted well in the original really at all, and here it's depicted in a much more sensitive light, and I overall really liked what they ended up doing with that scene. I thought they gave that a major upgrade overall.
Oh, so good.
Really, there's a lot of changes I really liked in this film. I think it really just, again, and a lot of them are very subtle. They're just kind of small changes they made to some characters, but it makes these characters feel like they have so much more depth to them. You want to follow these characters. You grow to love every single one of these characters, even if they aren't good people. You know, you want to follow them. You want to see, you know, their point of views, and I think they do a really strong job with that. They really did put the characters first here and do all they can to make those characters work, and I enjoyed everything when it comes to the writing, but the cinematography in this film is just on another level for me. I mean,
oh my god, it was amazing.
Some of the best of the entire year, for sure.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
And like just beautiful and very well done and just perfection.
Yeah, Janusz Kaminski, I mean, we know that he's an amazing cinematographer. He's worked with Steven Spielberg on a ton of movies like Schindler's List and Catch Me If You Can, Saving Private Ryan, you know, some of the best. And he really reminds you just how great of a cinematographer he is. I honestly think after this movie, like, we need to start touting this guy as, like, one of the greats in terms of cinematography, because what he's able to do, really bringing this New York City to life, like I said, it's a much more, like, grittier look, but that doesn't mean it's not colorful. Like certain sequences, like America, for example, it has all that, you know, artistic sort of, you know, feel to it. I thought he did a great job. There's one shot with a fucking puddle. It is literally just a puddle of rain, and something about it I was just so, like, mesmerized by. I don't know how...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know what shot I'm talking about? Like,
yes.
I was like, holy shit. Like, it was so well handled, and, like, I thought the cinematography was just absolutely immaculate here. And the one thing I will say about the original is that there are some really cool, like, visual things that they do, but I thought what they did here, again, it just made a lot more sense for the kind of film that they're trying to make. They're really trying to make a movie that, you know, is more applicable to, like, cinematic standards. They're using the properties of cinema, and this is exactly how you do that. This world feels so fleshed out. You really get the sense of, like, you know, how grimy things are, you know, how violent things have gotten. The violence is way more, there is a way bigger emphasis on the violence. It feels a lot more elevated here, because obviously in the 60s there were things they couldn't show. Here they can show them, and
yeah, the 60s was definitely a different time.
Yeah, it's very brutal at points. There were points I know where you even looked away, because it was very hard to watch at points.
Yeah,
and
some
I thought
of it was just like some scenes are just like really hard to watch.
Yeah, definitely. But I really loved everything they did in terms of cinematography here.
Same.
Just some of the best of the entire
So
year,
good.
for sure. I've seen a lot of people say, like, production design and things like that, like, it's pretty much a lock. And I would agree. I would definitely agree. I think what this film does very well is it takes like I said, it takes West Side Story and kind of gives it a cinematic look, and I thought they did such an amazing job. That's very hard to do with a musical because you don't want to make it seem too stagey, and at no point did I feel this film was. I thought they did such a phenomenal job with that. Look, score here is iconic. We know how great these songs are.
Every song is just fantastic.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's songs that I didn't even think much of, and here I can't stop listening to them. And I thought they did such a great job. But something else I thought was kind of cool, they kind of moved some of the placements of some of the songs from, like, both the musical and the movie, and it actually adds a lot to the film. Like, they changed the meaning of cool, for example. Cool, I think you'll agree with me, it slows the story down in the original. It feels so out of place. Like, just there's the very, like, emotional thing that happens, and then just boy, crazy boy. stay cool, boy. It's like, where is this coming from? This feels like a halt in the movie. Here it has an actual purpose, and I thought they did a really good job with that overall. So I was impressed by a lot of the, music going on here. All of the musical numbers are just absolutely phenomenal. If I did have to have a nitpick, they changed up America a little bit, and I do prefer what they did in the original. I
noticed that when when you rewatched the original and I watched it for my first time.
Yeah, they changed it up a lot, like the placement and like what it really is like emphasizing. I don't think they changed the meaning or anything. I just prefer the way it's done in the original, but I still liked what they did here. I appreciate the fact that they tried to do something different. They didn't just do what you're used to, and I actually think that makes it that much more impressive. Like, I always say this when it comes to remakes, is like, I like remakes that try to do something different, and this film very much did do it, and pretty much almost every single one of them worked. There's a couple things here and there that didn't really work, but I think musical number wise, I mean, all of them were really great here, I think,
they added like their own little special touch.
Definitely. I think that the big standouts for me, I think you'll agree, A Boy Like That was a huge standout.
So
I Feel Pretty is so well done. I really enjoyed the way that whole thing was constructed. And also Cool, I think, was a really big, was a really great number for me. I thought they did a really fantastic job with that. Obviously, the balcony scene, this is really iconic music. Rest in peace, Stephen Sondheim, because my God, what a score he gave to this film. Just one of the best. One of the best songwriters of all time, and you're very much reminded of that in this film, and I thought they did a really great job of really paying tribute to that. So I really enjoyed, again, paying tribute to the original, but also trying to put their own spin on it. I thought they did a great job with that. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the change in Somewhere. Obviously, originally, this is a Tony and Maria duet, but here, it's given pretty much a whole new purpose. It's much more centered around Rita Moreno's character, and I thought it worked for the most part. Does it maybe change up the meaning of that song a bit? Yes, but I think for the story that they were trying to tell, and especially for Valentina's character, it made sense to give her that song, and I thought Rita Moreno did an amazing job with it. So I don't really have too many complaints on that either. I think that's another example of something that works really well here that they changed up. And I don't know how I forgot to talk about this in the original video, but my God, the choreography in this film is just absolutely electrifying. And that's not to say in the original it isn't. I love like the Jets doing ballet and things like that, but it's a lot more, again, authentic here. It feels a lot more natural in this film, and I think they do an amazing job with that. Numbers like America and Cool especially, I mean, just the choreography throughout this film, you can really tell they are trying to make this like the real deal in that way. These are very professional dancers. They really do get to show off their moves in a really great way, and I think that's what makes this film feel kind of like classic Hollywood in that way. A lot of people have said this, kind of feels like an ode to that, and I think a big reason for that is just because, again, just how much emphasis is put on the dancing. There's not like editing to try to like hide from it. They really do go all out when it comes to the choreography, and I think it makes the film that much better overall. The editing, I mean, this movie's about as long as the original, but I'll be honest, I felt like it flew by a lot more than the original. The original you feel the length, and I did not feel the length here at all. It really kind of did fly by for me. I thought it was very well paced in that way, and I really liked the way they everything was handled.
I feel like the original flew by for me because obviously I saw the remake first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like the remake for me flew by more just because I thought that the story was just a lot more engaging. And there's points...
I love the story.
There's points in the original where I'm like, this is a little too long. I didn't really feel that with this one. I felt like they did a good job when it came to the pacing. Only other real issue with this movie, I would say, and I don't know if you have the same complaint, but in the beginning, even though they gave a little bit more of a reason as to why Tony and Maria, should be together and why they have this romance, it was a little hard to buy into it at first, and maybe that's because of Ansel Elgort's kind of like wooden acting and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I think as the film went along, they did a much better job in this one of really hinting at like why these two feel the way they do with each other. With the original, it's like they meet and then suddenly they're just in love, and that's kind of it. This one really does take the time to like show you like why these two like each other. There's a really great scene, especially on a train, that they've now included, and I thought it was way more effective than what they did in the original. So while that was a complaint for me at first, honestly, it's really not that much of a complaint now thinking about it, because I do think they did a pretty good job of developing the romance and giving you a reason to really kind of like care for it overall.
Yeah.
Overall, guys, West Side Story was a huge surprise for me. This film was way better than I think it had any... Yeah, I feel like this film was way better than it really had any right to be. They did such an amazing job of taking what worked in the first one, but also tweaking certain aspects to make it that much more of an effective story. The emotion is much higher. You feel the story more. You care more about what's going on. The characters, especially Riff and Bernardo, are given a lot more considerable depth to them, and you really do feel for that, especially when it comes to the tension between the Jets and the Sharks. There's a lot of great themes about racism and gentrification and things like that. Even some homophobia stuff in there. I thought they did such an amazing job with all of that. The performances are just out of this world, especially from Rachel Zegler, Ariana Debose, and Mike Faist. Those three really do carry this entire movie. Rita Moreno is also amazing in a great supporting role. There are a couple noticeable flaws here and there, as I said. I do think there is a very obvious miscast, and there's a couple things they moved around that I wasn't super into. But overall, I mean, when it comes to musical remakes, this is easily one of the best we've ever gotten. There are very few musical remakes that are on this level for me. The fact that the original was as iconic as it is, and I think this film is better, really should be a testament as to how good this film really is. I think, you know, Spielberg's directing, his passion, it really has not been this good in a while, and it's a film that really is like begging for him to make more musicals. I really hope he does that after this. For me, this was really everything that I could have hoped for. All of my worries and things like that were pretty much just like left at the door, and I was kind of just like, why was I ever worried about this movie? Because it really did turn out to be something very special. Dare I say it, more special than the original film. This is everything I want a musical film to be. It's easily one of the best musical films of the entire year, rounding out such an amazing year for musicals. And for me, I'm definitely going to give West Side Story an A.
I actually gave the original an A, and when I watched, the remake an A. Okay. And I give the original a B.
Yeah, I'd give the original like a B plus. I think it's
basically with the original for me is because of the problematic things and such.
Yeah, and and some of the story elements not kind of being
some of the
kind of weak.
And a few tweaks here and there.
Yeah.
But obviously the remake had some little tweaks, but mostly it was like flawless to me.
Oh yeah, definitely. But yeah, what an amazing year for musical movies this has been. Like this, In the Heights, Tick Tick Boom. It has never been a better time to be a musical fan, and yet people aren't fucking seeing them in theaters. Like let's fix that. Let's have more musical films come out, because like I'm here for this. Like people for years have been saying like musical films aren't able to be taken seriously, and I very much beg to fucking differ, because we're gonna have Tick Tick Boom and West Side Story probably all getting Oscars, and very deserving of that for sure. So just in general, a really great time to be a big musical fan, especially for movies for sure. But other than that, guys, that's it for our review of West Side Story. This was a lot of fun. Very excited, very happy that we were able to do this together. We got two more reviews coming up. We're excited to talk about both of them. I'm sure there's a certain big movie coming out very soon. It's not really anything that big, Aly. It's it's just a small little indie release. It's not really anything that anyone cares about. But yeah, we'll be reviewing that very soon. You guys know what I'm getting at. And then we have one other review coming as well that we'll be seeing together. But yeah, excited to review both of those. As always, guys, for this video, hope you guys enjoyed it.
Hopefully, I did okay, because obviously this is my first movie review.
You did as good of a job as you could. Also, follow Aly on Letterboxd, AlyCatXO. She posts on there pretty consistently. She's got a whole list of movies that we watch together, which is really cute, and I love that a lot. And if you like seeing Aly on this channel, be sure to tune into A Conversation with Kelly. We mostly just cover reality TV stuff, but it's a lot of fun and a lot of good stuff over there, so definitely check that out. But that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you guys in our next video, and we will see you guys for that. I know I gotta catch up on stuff, but I'm going to make that happen soon. Okay, bye.
Bye.